This is Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Podcast Show. This is episode 565. I'm joined by Alexis Kennedy. That's your last name, right, Kennedy?
Kennedy is my middle name. Lynch is my last name.
Alexis Lynch. Sorry, my bad.
It's all right. Sorry.
I just want to say thank you for joining me today. She's a journalist. We're going to get to her career and from Mercy College and the stuff she writes about, and it's just an honor for you to come on. And first of all, how are you and your family doing during this tough situation? Obviously,
everyone's good. Luckily, everyone's been healthy. Everyone kept their jobs, so everyone's happy, safe, healthy. That's all that matters currently. And everyone's been doing good.
Yeah. So my first question to you: when did you get interested in the journalist side, being a journalist, and who was your biggest influencer in that?
So when I first went to college, I was actually a education English major for my first year. And I realized that wasn't really my vibe that I was going for. I kind of put myself in that situation because I had always worked with kids and I knew that I loved English, but I never really understood until my second semester and my third semester when I really got into classes that I liked the writing aspect, but I didn't really want to teach. I wanted to more tell people stories, write stories about myself, my family, because that to me is just really inspirational, reading anyone's stories. It's just important to come across and give people good news. And even if it's bad news, you always try to bring it in a light, heartful way. I would say that my biggest influencer was probably one of my high school teachers, Mr. Ambrosio. He honestly helped me really understand how to write, how to be a better writer, how to read things, how to edit, all of those important things he really helped me with. So I still talk to him here and there. He's one of the best people I had in my senior year of high school. So that's definitely who I think would influence me now.
So during your high school career, take me back. What experience did you gain, especially from your teacher you just mentioned, and what experience did you gain from high school being a writer, and what advice did they give you before heading to college?
So in high school, I didn't really do much because I switched schools. I went to one school freshman through sophomore year, and then another school junior through senior. So I was kind of too shy or too afraid to really get involved in things. I just kind of wanted to go to school, do my thing, and leave. But English class was always my one comfort zone where I could just be myself and write about whatever we were talking about or whatever was going on in the news world. And that was something that I truly enjoyed doing. We would have to do current events here and there, and that was also in history class. And I just really enjoyed doing it. I thought that reading other people's work and kind of writing on your own about it, it really made me realize wow, I like to do this. But I didn't really understand that I wanted to go down that path at that time. I wanted to kind of stick in the safe zone because I didn't believe that I could be in the spot that I am today, which is crazy to look back at myself in high school and being the shy person to who I am now, who goes out and interviews a bunch of people that I don't know. So, yeah.
So obviously journalism, there's a lot of schools for journalists and sports writers or whatever writers. What made you choose Mercy College, and was being close to home one of the factors?
So I actually went to one school before Mercy. I went to Rider University in New Jersey. Yeah, I went there. It's not that I didn't like it there. It just, I love home. I love my family. I have two little brothers. My mom's my best friend. They are truly what makes me happy in my life. So I was kind of getting really sad, kind of getting thrown off track at my old school. I couldn't really focus anymore. So I left there and I came here, and my mom actually went to Mercy. She mentioned it to me. She graduated from there, and I was like, oh, I'd love to see it. I went to the campus. I stepped on the campus. It was beautiful. It's right on the Hudson River. You can see it from every building that you're in, which is crazy and insane. And my stepdad's cousin is the vice president of student affairs there. So they really kind of made me feel comfortable and made me feel at home. I went into this blind eye. I had no idea what the journalism major was like. It's actually called what is it? It's media studies with a focus in either film, journalism, any of those topics. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And my first semester there, I didn't really take any journalism classes because I was just also doing some freshman credits that I was trying to get done, things along those lines. And then I really got into journalism and I realized how much I loved it. There, I have one professor who I'm super close with, Michael Parada. He's the absolute best. He was also a journalist. Now he's a teacher. So he's just kind of like my mentor right now. And, he really got me comfortable here at Mercy. So,
Hmm. Speaking of Rider University, I have a couple friends that go there right now.
oh, really?
Yeah.
I know who was it? Sal.
Yeah.
Sal was like your neighbor or
Yeah,
something.
he's my
Yeah,
neighbor.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, his girlfriend Caroline. I know her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think they're dating anymore. I don't think so, but I don't know.
I honestly have
Yeah.
no idea. I kind of like cut everyone off from Ryder because that was just like I was a completely different person then. I try to like ignore that time of my life. I had an ex-boyfriend who kind of drove me crazy and I wanted a fresh start, so I just kind of forgot about everyone for the most part.
Oh, so you know Caroline then?
Yes.
Yeah. So, speaking of Rider, so what did you like about Rider University, and what did you learn from there? And obviously, you moved on to Mercy, but explain to me what was it like at Rider University, and then and then going to Mercy College.
Yeah, so Ryder was much bigger, that's the one thing, and I was also dorming there, so it's completely different than what I'm doing at Mercy now. Like, right now I'm home and I drive to Mercy. Currently, this semester we're all online, so I'm home for the most part. But at Ryder, what made me fall in love with it is I had friends that went there, and I kinda need, like I have social anxiety, so I kinda need to have some people around me to make me feel comfortable in a spot. Like, if I went into college on my first day not knowing a single soul, not knowing where my classes were, I'd probably have a huge panic attack and not make it. So that was one big thing for me is that the college I went to, I really wanted to have a medium-sized campus, have some friends that already go there, and have friends who can show me around the area. I had two friends who went there. One was Allie and the other one was Lauren. And they were really, really helpful with me. They let me come visit early. I went out and I met a couple people, which made me make more friends before I went there. I was also really interested in their hockey team. I did some managing for their hockey team for a little while. And I made some great friends out of that who still to this day I talk to. So I think that's what made me fall in love with Ryder. And then time just kind of passed and I just realized it wasn't for me anymore. I just wasn't doing my best and I know what my best can be and I just wasn't doing that. And I wasn't really getting involved and I just felt like very lonely. All my friends had joined sororities. I knew that wasn't the path that I wanted to go in. I'm not a sorority girl whatsoever. Um, so I think all of those factors kind of played into me moving home.
Hmm. So now moving towards the Mercy College. If no one knows about that college, what explain to them or what type of college that is in New York, and what teaching styles do they have for these the up and coming journalists?
So it's mostly a commuter school. I will be 100% honest with that. I kind of know everything about Mercy. I was an orientation leader, not the past summer, the summer before that. So I've been in all the information meetings. I've learned the school like the back of my hand. It is mostly a commuter school. And for journalism courses, they implemented it in a great way, I personally think. You have to do the newspaper for 2 semesters and it counts as credit. Right now I'm a volunteer. I don't get it for credit because I already did my 2 semesters worth of it. But so that's implemented. So you get to work on a real newspaper, you get to publish pieces, you get to work with associate editors, managing editors, sports editors, all different types of things. You get the feel of going out into the field, interviewing people, and it doesn't just have to be within the Mercy community, which I thought was really cool. You also have to do an internship. That's also a 3 credit requirement on your major requirements. So they kind of help you get a real feel for the real world while you're still in school, which I also think is super important. Jobs love to see that, you have that experience on your resume. So that was also super important to me when I looked over the major requirements because I was like, wow, that's cool. I've never seen this offered before. So definitely things like that.
Hmm. So take me back to your first interview and your first journalist opportunity. What was that like, and how grateful are you that when you realize that you're starting your journalist career?
So my first interview actually wasn't for the paper. I took a class I believe it was sports reporting, and we had to do stories for that class. So I think I actually interviewed my grandpa for my, like, first real interview, which is, like, crazy to think about because no one would ever think you'd be interviewing your grandparents for your first major interview as a journalist. My grandpa's came over from Iran, when he was younger, when he was, like, 18. He was a wrestler, so I wrote about his wrestling story and about how he wrestled for the New York Athletic Club in the city, and how he was a big part of the Iran, wrestling team there. They're really big on it. Um, so I wrote about that because I thought it was kind of an interesting story because he was an immigrant who the US wanted to come here to help wrestle. And I just thought it was like a super important story and that no one really knew it about him. So I was like, you know what? Everyone sees my grandpa as like this fun, jolly guy, but I should tell them like his rough story and also how he got here and how he made it to who he is today. So that was my first like major interview for the newspaper. I interviewed a couple freshmen and a couple commuter students about parking on campus because last year we had a major parking problem because we came in with the College of New Rochelle, like we bought them out. So kids were coming from their campus to our campus. So it caused like an overflow of parking. And I, as a commuter, I wanted to do a story on that so people could understand what was going on. So I talked to a bunch of commuter students, freshman students. I talked to the VP of Student Affairs and Security, and I got a bunch of different information from there. And after I did that story, I was like, oh, okay, like this isn't too bad. Like I can get used to this. And now I'm just kind of on a roll.
Hmm. So my next question to you is, what's your experience? What would you say your experience as a journalist has so far? And also, who did you look up to as a journalist in the field? And then who do you try to mold your craft around towards?
Okay, that's a pretty hard question because I've never really like looked up to someone in journalism. I've just read a bunch of pieces and I've always seen like the people on News 12 Westchester and I've always been just like I always thought it was cool to see them and see their craft and what they were doing. But the one person honestly who I look up to now is my professor, who I already mentioned, Michael Parada. He truly like helped me figure out what I was doing and what kind of tone I wanted to go for with my writing. And he's interviewed Mike Tyson and a bunch of other big people.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, he is honestly so inspiring. He just helps me. He helps all of his students. He wants to see all of us like do well. And I wouldn't be where I am right now without him. He also runs the student paper. So he kind of looks over me and my managing editor and helps us like figure out problems that we're having. So definitely him. He's someone that I look up to. I always look at his writing and like pick up new things from him all the time.
Yeah. So before we go, I want to ask you. We're all Rangers fan here, New York Rangers fans here also. And when, how did this come about? When did you become a Rangers fan? And what do you like about the team this year? And obviously we got the #1 pick, Lafreniere, and I'm excited for this team.
Me too. I'm super excited, not to mention we have the same name, which is like pretty cool. That's gonna be my next jersey, I think. I
Yeah.
can't not get the jersey. Um, but my dad, honestly, he was a big Rangers fan. I just grew up as a Rangers fan, watching them on TV. My dad used to play hockey and coach hockey, so he really influenced me in going that direction. I truly do not watch like any other sports besides hockey. I find it like the most upbeat and quick-paced sport out of all of them that are out there. But definitely my dad was a big, big factor of all of this. He's influenced my little brothers to like hockey and the Rangers. Um, so definitely him. And I enjoy watching this team. I'm like right now, it's so cool watching them grow. Like from all the people that have left that I've watched since I was younger, like McDonough, Callahan, Zuccarello, all of these people who are now gone.
And
Um,
Lundqvist is gone too.
Lundqvist, yeah, all of them. It's like crazy. The only person we have now is Kreider.
Yeah.
Stahl's also gone. So it's kind of cool to see a new team being made in front of like my eyes and being able to root for them. And I hope that this season they make it further and they don't have Carolina sweep them, which would be great. So yeah, that's how I really got into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be an interesting year, but I can't wait. And I actually, they signed a couple free agents, and then the draft. Actually, I think they won the draft and be able to trade up and get the other guy they wanted. That's a great steal.
Yeah. I'm just waiting to hear about what they're doing with Ryan Strome. I know today was the day they talked about his salary and everything, the arbitration and whatever. So I'm just waiting to hear about that because he is one of my current favorite players. So I'm just because they traded Brady Shea, who was one of my old favorite players. He wasn't that great, but like I always committed to him and was like, you got this, you can do it. And then after he got traded, I was like, all right, Strome was my second favorite, and so was Panarin. So those two are hand in hand for me right now.
Yeah. So other than writing for like the papers and all, have you considered interning for like for example, NHL Network or like some hockey network or covering for a team?
So right now, I'm working at a local ice arena. I do their social media because it's what I'm really leaning towards right now is doing social media more than journalism. I'd love to do journalism on the side as like a freelance writer here and there. But social media coordinating or managing is something that I really am looking forward to doing. So right now I'm working at this ice rink and I do their social media. So that's giving me like a head start. My boss's son is Steve Santini. He just got drafted the other day by St. Louis Blues, which is really cool. So I'm hoping to go in that direction one day. Like my main goal is to either work for MSG or the Rangers and do their social media, but that takes like a lot of connections, a lot of time. So hopefully I get there.
Yeah. So speaking of NHL reporters, I had a couple on my show, and one of them, her name is Lauren Gardner from NHL Network. I'm sure you know her. Did you ever reach out to her or connect with her on Twitter or Instagram?
No, I've never I honestly haven't really connected with anyone journalism wise. I know that I probably should, but I've just honestly been focusing on graduating this year. That's
Yeah.
my number one goal this year is just kind of making sure I get all straight A's and I graduate the highest in my class. I make sure that I actually have graduation. All of those things are really super important to me. So that's kind of what I've been doing as of right now and focusing on the paper because it is my first semester being the associate editor. So I've just I haven't really had any time to do things for myself because I'm helping a team of like 20 kids and there's stuff going up every day. So
Yeah, so I want to get to one of the important topics I've been bringing up to this to all my guests pretty much. Women in sports. Everybody should be talking about this. What's it like seeing yourself and all these other women getting the opportunities to cover sports and women coaching male sports also? What's it like seeing that now?
it's honestly really inspiring. Like growing up, you really didn't see it that much, especially when you were younger. And it's something that this topic always comes up when I talk to people about it. They're like, do you know how hard it is for a woman to get into sports? Or do you know how hard it is for a woman to do this or that? And I'm like, I understand that, but I'm willing to go for the challenge. Like, I usually always work for what I want. And that's the most important thing, especially when you're a girl and everything that's going on, like politically and just in general. So I think that, just like believing in yourself is like the main thing, especially when you're a girl going into sports, because a lot of the guys will just like look at you as either like a piece of meat, which I hate to say, but it's true. Or they'll just look at you like you don't really know anything, which I mean, I've written pieces on like Kobe Bryant, a bunch of different other sports pieces that I've done in the past. I've managed a hockey team. I've done a lot in sports. I work for an ice rink right now. Like, I just think people see women for women and not for past things that they've done, and it kind of sucks. But it's just good to see a lot more girls in power in sports and in higher positions.
Yeah, so actually, my next question to you, I have a couple other friends that do podcasts and sports podcasts, and I'm going to send you their pages so you can check them out. But
Cool.
this is one you should definitely check out. He's 14 years old. His name is Vedant. He's Global Kid Media. He's interviewed over 1,000 people, and he's trying to be the first sideline kid reporter. What do you think of the idea of having kid reporters on the sidelines?
I think that would honestly be kind of cool. I feel like as a kid, you kind of want to see someone in your shoes, like doing what you want to do in the future. So seeing a 14-year-old would be super cool on the sideline. I know my brother, he's 13, 14. He would love that. He plays baseball. So, he's actually in the game. And I think he would like to be interviewed by someone his age. It's less intimidating than having like an adult come up to you and ask you all these questions you don't understand. So I honestly think that would be really cool and something I would like to see in the future.
Yeah, so he has a couple questions for you. He told me to ask this on Instagram. He wants to know if you can write an article about him.
Yeah, I would 100% be down to do that. Honestly, just after we're done with the Zoom, send me like his Instagram and I'll definitely DM him. I feel like that would be such a cool story, and maybe I'll have some of my sports guys for the paper help me write it too and interview him as well.
That'd be all. Yeah, he wants that, and then he also he asked he wants to know if your magazine or would help, like when you obviously with your paper skill, I mean your journalist skills, and you're working with the paper. He wants to know that do you have any like connections to with magazine people who work with magazine media or marketing skills?
I feel like there's definitely someone in our group of people who has a connection to a magazine company or marketing. I know I'm taking a few marketing classes next semester because that's also something that I'm very interested in. And I know that my professor has a lot of people that he knows in magazine and marketing. So yeah, 100%. There's definitely someone. I just have to ask.
Yeah. So my next question to you, obviously during this tough time, obviously you're focusing on school, but other than that, are you currently working on some big things that you're writing on or covering right now?
So we do every semester, we do an Impact Now, which is kind of investigative reporting or journalism. And this year I've actually taken off of writing one and I'm doing all the production behind it. So that's all the multimedia stuff, whether it be pictures, videos, interviews over Zoom, sound bites, all of that. I'm taking over it for the year, hopefully, if I get it next semester. Because I've written two pieces in the past. I wrote one, it was Love for Hire. It was about the OnlyFans community and like how that jumped off really fast and became a huge thing. And then the semester before that, I wrote about jewels and vaping, about what it does to you, how people feel about it, how easily addictive it is. So this semester I decided to take off because I want to have some multimedia pieces that I can show in the future. So that's the biggest thing that I'm working on right now. It's taking a lot of work. We work on it from October all the way to December, sometimes January. So
Have you considered starting your own podcast, like what I'm doing, or these other or my other friends that are doing right now, like just interviewing people on Instagram or Zoom during this tough time? Or
yeah, so my friend and I actually, we had a podcast, and then she got the coronavirus. She's fine, but it kind of put everything on halt. And then I got a new job, so everything's just been kind of crazy. And we're hoping to film a new podcast in November. It's called Two Girls, One Pod. We only have one episode up right now, and we just kind of talk about life in quarantine and being a girl and just random things, whatever is on our mind. We just talk about it, and we've always been looking for people to interview. I know we have a few girls lined up to come on and talk about their lives. We have our friend Mike, who was a sports editor, coming on to talk about just being a guy and trying to get girls, things like that. So yeah, I have one, and I'm hoping that it gets resumed again in November.
So what advice would you give these young journalists or young kids that are trying to be like journalists like you and like us, and obviously the kid I just mentioned to you, and what advice would you give to my other friends about being a journalist, or what would you tell them to expect to get into this field?
Well, number one is just to like never give up, and kind of make your own brand. There's no one that can be you, so you should always be yourself, and you should focus on what you really want to do and your brand and how you want to come off to other people. I think that's like the number one most important thing that you can do. Second is always working hard, always go for those interviews. Even if you don't get them, just know that you've tried. That's super important. I tried to interview a bunch of NHL players, no one got back to me. So I shrugged it off my shoulders and I kept going on with my life. Like, you can't be upset about it. You just got to keep going. And just try and do as much as you can do in the journalism career. Make a blog, write on your own, save pieces for the future when you either go into college or high school or whatever you're doing. It's just always important to like build your portfolio as early as you can.
Yeah, so like especially for me, I've gotten so many no's on this podcast, and I'm over. I'm actually you're my 565th episode. So all my friends say that that's crazy. How you're at 565? They say you started this at the beginning of the pandemic, and I said I work hard. I'm a hustler. I've done 6 episodes in one day a couple times, so that's how.
That's all that matters. You just have to be a hard worker, especially with all the competition that's out there right now between all the different news outlets and all the different social outlets that's out there. You just got to be on your game and working 24/7. It's the most important thing.
Yeah, so I want to get to that. This is a question I've been bringing up to all my guests, and about obviously about the late Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, and obviously you wrote a piece about it. How tough was that before he passed away or after you wrote that piece?
That was after.
Uh, so how tough was it writing that piece? And obviously he's one of the best players in the league, and
Yeah.
he was a big role model towards a women's game also. And his daughter could have been the next WNBA star, and she was UConn bound, and it was tough for me because he was one of my role models growing up. And but for you, how tough was it writing that piece?
Honestly, that day is something that I'll always remember. It's kind of like asking someone like, "Where were you when Michael Jackson died?" It's that kind of situation for our generation, especially, I feel like, because it came as a shock. I still remember I was sitting in my boyfriend's, it was sitting in his living room with his mom and him, and I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, "There's no way that this is real," because those fake news articles always go around, especially if it's TMZ. I don't really believe it until there's another source that comes out and says something. So when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god, there's no way." And then more information came out. Then there was information that all of his kids were on the plane and on the helicopter and all these different things. And I remember it didn't really hit me. I went to go see a movie and then I got out. All the news was still going about it. Like time didn't stop while I was there. And I remember I was sitting in the car, and I just started crying. Because it was just like so surreal to like feel that. And like I've never been in that situation before where a celebrity, someone that I've looked up to, that I have friends who've looked up to have passed away. And it was honestly a huge shock to the community. I don't think anyone saw it coming, obviously. Like it was something, a normal routine that he would do almost every week. And, it was just out of the blue and it happened randomly. And I feel for his family. I really do. I hope that they sue everyone who put out information before they were supposed to. Like I know his wife wasn't even notified. TMZ posted it right away, which I think is disgusting and it's gruesome. And I personally, as a reporter, would pass it. I would say, no way. Like if the family doesn't know, I'm not posting it. That's just the ethics, the moral ethics of journalism is you should always be thinking about the other people around you. And it was super hard writing it. Especially just because of his daughter. His daughter was so young and she had a lot of talent, and I would have loved to see her go forward in the future being a woman in sports. It's just crazy. And the kid who I wrote it with, we went to school together since kindergarten, and I've known that Kobe Bryant was like one of his all-time like heroes. And we called each other and talked about it multiple times and wanted to figure out how we were going about it, and we just wanted to do it in the most respectful way possible. And I feel like that's what we did, and that's what's super important to us. So it was really hard. That was like one of the first things as a journalist that really like shook me to my core, honestly.
Yeah. Speaking of TMZ, it's like they also reported false claims that other people were in the plane and that were not.
Yep.
For example, Kobe's teammate Rick Fox, they reported, but he was not on there. That's it. TMZ is just I don't know why. How they get these news? I'm just curious. How do they get these stuff before anybody does? How do they
I think they follow them. They follow them, track them to the best of that they can do. Like they know where Kobe lives or they know what airport he's going out of. They can just drive down the highway the same way that his helicopter is going and just watch them as they go. I mean, that's what they do. They're celebrity watchers. They get paid to do these things, and it sucks when you get paid to do stuff like that and be shady and go behind people's backs. It's not journalism. It's not. And I feel like I hope one day that they get canceled and no one talks about them ever again. But that's obviously not going to happen. There's too many people that like all the tea and like all the information that comes from them, whether it be real or fake. So
Yeah, and going back to Gianna, I actually interviewed one of the girls last week. from the
I saw, yeah.
Mama
Mhm.
Academy, and she said that she learned a lot from Gianna, and she played against her, and it was especially tough on her because she was part of the Mama Academy, and she met Kyle Kuzma there when he was there, and it was just hard for. I learned actually for me, I learned a lot from that conversation. It was just inspiring what she is. She has her own podcast at 13 years old, also, and she's a basketball star. And it's unbelievable what I'm seeing right now in this generation. There's a 9-year-old kid out there has a podcast. A 9-year-old kid, by the way.
Yeah, so I have two younger brothers. They're both athletes, crazy athletes. My one brother, he's 13, turning 14. He's on a travel baseball team. His team's amazing. And he's a pitcher, and what he does just shocks me. Like I was never the athletic one in my family. Like I played sports, but I was never good. That was just never who I was. So just watching him, I'm like, wow, like why couldn't I do this? Like this is so cool to be able to watch you do this. And you know, he loves it, and I'm glad that he's doing that rather than sitting on the computer
Yeah.
playing Fortnite or video games.
Right.
That's what my other little brother does, but he's 10. So, but he
Yeah.
also has like a YouTube channel, and he like streams his things. No one watches them, like besides me and my family. But you know, I like to see him doing that because that's him kind of getting creative with something that he likes to do. And I think that's important to do at an early age, is really get creative with what you want to do and kind of find something that you want to do in the future.
Right. So before I let you go, this is the last. This is a this is a question I've been bringing up also. What would you like to say to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now?
Honestly, they are the most hardworking people that I know. I don't understand how they're doing it. I mean, they had to be separated from their families for a while, if you think about it, because they didn't want to bring anything home to their families. They have some of the toughest jobs, and I truly respect all of them. And I just hope that they stay safe through the remainder of this. I hope that there's a vaccine that works one day so we can get away from this. And you know, I'm just really thankful for them. If it wasn't for them, so many people that I know could have probably died, and it's just crazy to think about if we didn't have them, what the world would be right now.
Yeah, so there it is, episode 565. Thank you, Alexis Lynch, for joining me. A talented journalist. Keep up the great work. You're such an inspiration, and I'll be posting this on all social media formats so people see your story, especially. And I'll send you my friend's podcast and that 14-year-old kid, so he can. I'll let him know to message you, so you agreed to write the article about him, and he'll like that. And but like I said, thank you again. Keep grinding, keep working hard. I'm sure we'll connect again soon, and stay safe.
Thank you for having me on, and keep doing what you're doing. It's really cool to see someone do 565 podcasts within this like March to whatever. What is it right now? October, within this short amount of time. So yeah, congrats. Seriously.
Thank you so much, and stay safe.
You too. Have a good one.
Yep.